maybe. There it says we are live. And yeah, I know I'm starting to get later and later every time, but thanks everybody for joining us. Real quick here, let's do a quick roll call on the YouTube side. Looks like we've got the Tactical Pickle, the California Cucumber himself, Calaveras 32 Special, claiming to be first. Looks like you even beat me, which was pretty cool. Freedom for All, welcome to the chat. WB, welcome. Stephen Kaiser, welcome. And let me see anybody else in here. Graham, hey, if you want a link, Graham, hit me up on the Gun Channel side, and we will get you one of those. Welcome, everybody. Hey, Travis is in the house.
Pressure pushing everybody off on hit or miss. All right, good deal.
That's all right. That's all right. Okay, we're just going to go around the horn real quick, and I'm going to give everybody a chance to introduce themselves. If you saw my earlier video tonight, here's kind of what I want to do, because I know that we talk about guns a lot. Obviously, that's why we're all in the same community. Hey, Andrew, how's it going? Welcome. But I don't just want to know what people are carrying. I don't just want to know what holster you're using or where you carry on your body, things like that. That is stuff I want to cover real quick, just briefly. What I want to get into is more meat and potatoes. I want to get into why we carry, and not only why we carry, why we started, why we thought it was a good idea to begin with. I want to know just kind of what everybody has to say on the subject. And then also, speaking from personal experience, you know, there's a distinctive mindset and maybe a change in mindset that happens once you start carrying regularly. And so I kind of want to discuss how that is for everybody else too. So I'm going to go through the room here, let everybody introduce themselves, and then also, and in your part of your introduction, if you just want to mention, you know, what you're carrying, what holster setup you use, or if you've got a couple you alternate through, which ones they are, and then you know, inside the waistband, outside the waistband, if you appendix carry or you know, go 3 or 4 o'clock behind, you know, small of the back, off body or vest, or, you know, whatever it is, pocket. We're not going to get into the pros and cons. We're not going to shame anybody for pointing a gun at their junk. You know, it doesn't matter tonight. We'll get into maybe some other night, you know, if it's dangerous to point your Glock at your stuff, but at your gizzard, Gary. But I just want to know, like I said, real quick, what people are carrying, and then we'll get into some more emotional and intellectual things, I guess. I want to get a little bit deeper than just talking about the guns tonight. So I will start on what is my left over here in the room. Calaveras, from behind enemy lines. I know that you cannot carry a firearm legally. So if you're in an area where you don't have a carry permit, what do you carry every day? Do you do anything for self-defense, any kind of a knife or jiu-jitsu? What do you do?
Well, that's where I've never considered, you know, a knife to be a weapon, although I guess you could use it in, you know, in a bad situation if you had to. So I carry a Cold Steel Code 4 pocket knife. I've always carried them just because they're a tool, they're useful to have. That's for, as for why, because I'm slowly but surely working towards a carry permit. Simply because I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it, especially with, I've been driving home from work before, and all of a sudden the road right in, you know, sitting at a stoplight, and all of a sudden the crowd of Black Lives Matter or whatever walked out and blocks the intersection and start yelling at people in the front row. And I don't want to be in a situation like that and be completely without a means of protecting myself or anyone with me.
You've actually seen that? Like you've seen that in person?
Yeah, the person was standing about 6 feet from my grill yelling at me.
Wow.
Yep, happened to me too.
That's not something that we get much of here in Nebraska. I don't know anybody that's actually dealt with BLM or Antifa or anybody like that here in our state yet.
No.
So,
not that it couldn't happen, not that you can have some urban insight if there be some sort of a shooting or, you know,
It's true. It's true.
I mean,
Although most
you
of
can
our
have it anywhere, but yeah.
most of the towns around Nebraska, they're too small. I always joke that the town I came from was so small we only had one Hell's Angel, and he didn't even have a motorcycle. He just rode on a mule named Harley. So, okay. So, real quick before I go too far, I really should cover one topic before we get back into intros. Just because a couple people are asking out in the chat. Those of you who maybe some of you might not know this. The reason we didn't have a chat last week, my wife was in the hospital, and so it took about a week for the doctors to. I shouldn't even say that. It took about a week. The doctors never did figure out what was going on. They thought first bacterial infection, antibiotics didn't do anything. They figured out it was a virus. They never did find the right virus. If she wasn't better by Monday, she was going to have the infectious disease team come look at her and try and help diagnose what virus she had. But Sunday, she started to feel better. By Monday, her fever had been gone for over 24 hours. She got to come home. So Sunday night was night 7 in the hospital. So she spent almost 7 entire days in the hospital. She's glad to be home. She's doing well. She's still worn out, but she's definitely on the mend. So thank you, everybody, for the kind words, thoughts, prayers, and the concern. And it looks like she has joined us over in the chat. So anybody wants to show her a little love, feel free to do that over on the YouTube side there. All right, so we had Calaveras was actually I think on the chat when he was eating. His food just showed up at his table, so he had to go. But we've got a replacement on my far left. So AWAG, we've been I don't know if you were here when I started introducing people. As you do your intro, just tell us real quick if you can carry, what you're carrying and what holster you're using, where you carry it. If you can't carry, what do you do for an everyday carry instead? Do you have a knife, or do you know kung fu or any of those things?
Well, in most of my childhood, I took martial arts classes, and that was like 5 or 6 years that I did, which was great. We did knife defense, gun defense, we did all kinds of defenses. Touched on a little bit of rifle defense, but not much. But I live in New Jersey. We're not allowed to carry firearms. You can get a permit in New Jersey. It's just incredibly difficult, and you need a reason to get a carry permit. And if your neighbor says, "Oh, hey, I'm going to kill you," and threatens you, that's not a good enough reason. So it's literally impossible to get a carry permit. I do have my Utah carry permit, which I only use when I go out to Indiana to visit my sister. Even then, I don't really carry that much. But what I do carry on a daily basis is a knife, and it's a Spyderco paramilitary too.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
It's a good choice, man.
It's good.
Anyway, can you get a carry permit if you were a business owner? If you had a business license and had a legally established business, could you then carry a firearm? Get a permit maybe or not?
Same reason with civilians is you need a really good reason. And
okay.
One thing that I saw is people are like, "Oh, well, I transfer a lot of money, like millions of dollars every day." And then what the judge will probably tell you is, well, if you go through all that money, why don't you just hire an armored vehicle service?
Yeah.
So,
right. Who is actually allowed to have a gun?
Maybe somebody that has received multiple threats and has actually gotten shot at or wounded themselves. Even then, it takes months on end to get a carry permit.
Wow.
When I'm out in Indiana and I'm legally allowed to carry, I carry my P226 and 357 SIG inside the waistband holster at 12 o'clock. Now I know people are like, "Oh, don't do that. You're going to shoot your nuts off." You know, but I'm a pretty lanky guy, so it's pretty easy to conceal a full-size handgun. So
yeah, some of us I've tried, and not only is it super uncomfortable, but I I actually print way worse if it's right in front of me because the gun gets pushed out by the rest of me. And so
me too. Me too.
That doesn't work. But cool.
Usually I wear a very light jacket or something over so that it kind of conceals it a little better.
Cool.
You know? But
Sure. All right, moving right along, the Kingpin himself, Mr. Bowling 300. David, I don't think you can carry where you are either, can you?
No, I'm pretty much like AWAG. I live in an impossible to get a permit state.
You know, there is room for you, both of you, in Nebraska. I mean, it's not for everyone, but...
Oh, my God. That's our new state tourism slogan, by the way. But it's not what you think. My wife educated me last night. I did go to the tourism website, and the way you read it versus what you see on the website, it's a completely different interpretation. So
it's tilted backwards. So,
but depending on what you do, there's a lot of opportunity out here for a lot of different industries. If you guys are into different kinds of employment, there's lots of stuff out here for you. So. Yeah.
And if anybody who lives in New Jersey or Maryland, if you own a home and you sell it, you could probably buy most small towns in Nebraska. So houses and land are way more cost effective out here than they are on the coasts. I know that much. So David, I don't know. I was kind of reading some chat, and it's hard for me to focus on the talking if I'm reading or the reading if I'm listening. But are you carrying anything besides a firearm then with you?
I always have at least 2 of my pocket knives with me.
Okay.
And one of them's a DeWalt knife just because my boss gave me one day, and the other one I bought at a gun show. I tend to scoop up the 3 for $20s at the gun shows a lot, and I use my knives for all kinds of different stuff, so that's why I buy so many, is because eventually it'll get broken or it'll get chipped or it'll be dull as can be, and I'll just move on to the next one.
Yeah, I kind of do the same thing. My wife thinks that I've wasted a lot of money on knives, but they're just cool. Knives are kind of like some people like shoes, some people like knives, and you can buy a lot of knives for the price of a pair of Nikes. So cool. All right, Squib, if you are able to talk, what do you carry, and how and where do you do that? We'll give him a second here to get to a point where he can unmute. If not, we can always come back. So we'll come back to Squib. Travis.
Yeah, man.
I think I know what you're going to say because you just got a new addition to the family.
Yes. Well, first of all, if you guys don't know me, I'm Travis P11, so check out my channel on YouTube and gunchannels.com. For the last 2 years, I've been carrying a Car CT9 with a Klinger Stingray holster. Before that, I had different weapons, PT-111 G2, a Shield, FNS 9C. I kind of bounced through these guns about every 6 months, and then I would sell them. So for right now, my newest carry inside the waistband, and this doubles as an outside the waistband. It's just a Ruger EC9S, and I'm finally going to take it out to the range this week. I just started carrying it yesterday with a Hidden Hybrid Holsters twin clip inside the waistband holster. You can also use it as an outside the waistband holster with these little holes here. So it's a nice little setup, man. It's pretty slick. It's very compact. Right now, I finally got away from a 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock carry. I know that sounds crazy, but that's how it was most comfortable for me. And so I got away from that because everybody kept telling me, if you get knocked on your back, you're going to break a vertebrae because of the steel. I'm like, okay, good point. I'm going to quit doing that. So I've been going to a 3 o'clock carry now, which is really comfortable for me. So this is what I'm doing. Great holster. But yeah, Ruger EC9S, which is the same thing as a LC9S. And do you find that leather back holster is more comfortable at 3 o'clock than your all Kydex style? I was so used to wearing the Kydex one. I did that for the last almost 4 years. That's all I ever had was a Kydex holster, and I was always fine with it. This one's got the suede on the back, so it's real grippy, so it doesn't slide. The Kydex one is okay. Just that CT9 is such a thin gun with the Kydex holster. It was very easy to conceal, although the grip on that thing, you can get a full two-handed grip on it, but it's a compact pistol, sort of. It's got like a 4.5, 4-inch barrel or 4.5-inch barrel. I mean, it was weird. It's really thin, very smooth, not a lot of external features on it, so it's very easy to conceal. But I wanted something that had a shorter grip on it, and so I just went with the EC9S instead. Which this thing's awesome. I mean, I haven't even shot it yet. The fit and finish is great. It's easy to conceal. 3 o'clock carry, you can't even tell I've got it on me. Just a simple whatever sweatshirt, or I haven't actually tried it with a t-shirt over it, but I'm sure it would be easy to. I mean, you can't even tell because 75-80% of the gun is concealed under the waistline. So all you have is just the grip in the rear of the gun, and that's it. So I love it. I mean, that's great, and it's very comfortable too. Yeah.
That pinky extension doesn't print too bad through a shirt.
No, I was kind of worried about that. In fact, I had the flat base plate on it. It's just a little. No, you don't even know because it's so tight. It kind of angles up against the side of your body, so the shirt just kind of lays over the top of it. So
Nice.
it does not. And if it does, if I notice it, I can put the flat. I'm comfortable shooting either or, so it doesn't really matter. But I do have the 9-round extended mag for too that I just got in the mail 2 days ago, which adds a thick inch to it.
I still need to.
That's a backup mag for me. Yeah,
I haven't watched it yet. I saw that you posted it.
No.
I haven't watched
That's
a whole lot of videos lately here.
And then for external, outside the waistband holster, which if I have a heavy winter coat over, or range time, I'm still using this one, that Shooter Industries outside the waistband holder that I got sent to me to test out. It's got that nasty little edge on it, although I haven't been.
Still think I would Dremel that sucker off.
I just haven't had a chance. Every time I put it on, it's like I always have something tucked in. So I'm like, yeah, I'll be fine. But I've used this. I've worn this before. But I would only do this if I'm going to wear a winter coat over it, or if I'm going to be at the range. I can't open carry in Nebraska. Nobody even bats an eye. I mean, it's not a big deal. So, I mean, I could do this if I wanted to, but I choose just to conceal to not create any kind of alarm with people that aren't, familiar with firearms, that don't want to think I'm going to do something. So,
I forgot to tell you, I was going to send you a message. Our buddies over at Millspin have got a sale, and did you get an email from them? Do you get emails from them?
No, I don't. I didn't receive anything from them.
I'll just have to forward you the email because there's a discount code where everything I think is 20% off for a limited time.
Wow.
But you have to have a discount code. But if you just go to millspin.com and get on their subscription list, I think they'll send you that email. But they've got that all blacked out slide plate.
They make. Is it just Glock only that they make those for? No, they make other products too. It looks like they're getting into.
They make other stuff, but as far as slide plates, the only thing that they do is for Glock. They do 3 different sizes. The main thing that they do fits everything besides a 42 or a 43. And the 42 and the 43 each have their own size, so you can specify those. If you have anything from a 17 up through a 41, it's the same slide plate. And they design their slide plates to fit on all of those models, so you don't have to go through and dig. Well, I've got the 34, I've got the 32, or I've got a 23. It's the same slide plate, so it's pretty cool how they do that. But they've got the one now that is it's black on black, and it's the cool American flag one. So
that's what I'm gonna get. Yeah, the all blacked out. It's the rear. In case people don't know, they make different billet aluminum accessories and items, and they feature the rear plate that goes on the top
brass,
of the slide.
Stainless. It's top quality stuff.
Oh yeah,
if you haven't checked out Millspin, and I don't get paid by them, they've never sent me anything for free. But if you haven't checked out Millspin, you need to do that. It's good stuff. But anyway, okay. So a newcomer to the panel here, we've got our favorite tactical chicken. We've got Gizzard Gary. As you do your intro, sir, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then also just real quick, tell us what it is that you carry, and then what kind of holster setup you use inside the waist or outside or pocket, or where you carry that on yourself or off yourself.
Off yourself. Gizzard Gary. I'm at gizzardgary.com. Come from the great gun freedom state of Kansas. As far as what I carry every day, it is a Glock 42. Let me go ahead and turn my camera on so you can get an idea. I mean, everybody's seen a Glock 42, I'm sure. And I carry that in a DeSantis Nemesis pocket holster, right front pocket, every day.
How does that Nemesis work as far as printing goes? Does it help break up the outline pretty decent? Because the reason I say that, I've pocket carried my Shield, and I've got just it's a Uncle Mike's, I think, pocket holster, just a soft sided one, kind of like that, and it looks like I've got something it's not a phone in my pocket. You know, it's kind of triangular outline. It kind of reeks of being a gun. So that's why I'm asking about that.
This is it's kind of double thickness right here where this little tab is. That's the hook that catches onto the pocket, and it's hard, and it keeps the gun upright.
Okay.
And also fills out the pocket fairly well. So
it kind of breaks up that triangular outline.
Yeah, it does.
What does one of those cost? I might just have to.
The holster, it's about $20, $25, depending on where you get it.
That's really no excuse. Then I should just get one of those. That'd be better than my $15 one.
I got mine off Amazon, but most of your big box stores carry a fairly decent selection. So if it's not an obscure gun, they should have them right in the store. You can buy them.
And those are kind of like sticky holsters in the sense that they don't do a specific molding for one gun, right? Like that'll fit a Glock 42 or maybe a Smith & Wesson Bodyguard or kind of anything that size one.
Actually, on the DeSantis Nemesis, they pretty much have a model for each gun. I mean, they're pretty much custom fitted.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. That's good to know. All right. And then we've got another newcomer to the chat panel. I think this is your first night being on 2A Tuesday. So welcome to my channel, my show. I've been on a lot of your chats. It's good to have you be a guest in my house. And I'm not just a friend of this guy. I'm also in the Ghost Squad. Ghost Tactical.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me. Yeah, usually after mine gets done, I either stuck in after chats or trying to get home and get something to eat. But no, I'm driving home right now. But I thanks for the invite. I love the topic we're talking about. So yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Cool. Welcome. All right. And Squib, have you had a chance to get free, or do we just need to give you some time to finish up at work?
I've escaped from work.
All right. All right. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you carry and how and where.
Hi, I'm Squib.
Hi, everybody. Squib.
Hi, Squib.
It's been over 20 years that I've been into guns.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
So,
Squib, and I'm a gunaholic.
Began at an early age after watching The Matrix.
I started small with just Guns and Ammo magazine, and then it was a gateway into full auto and then concealed carry. So let's see. So the question is, what do you conceal carry?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't concealed carried in probably, I don't know, 11, 12, 13 years, somewhere in there. When I did conceal carry, I conceal carried an M9.
Okay. Do you carry regularly open?
I have before, but not really a whole lot. I've been trying to do it more this year, but between concealed and open carry, I prefer open.
Okay. Well, and I think I would too. If I tell you what, the town that I live in, I don't know how well received really it is. I've open carried a couple times on my day off, just to run to the gas station and fill the jug up for lawnmower gas or something. The last time I did that, some guys noticed it, and I don't know that they know that I heard them, but I was filling the gas jug up, and these guys were walking into the gas station, and I saw, out of the corner of my eye, one of them kind of elbowed the other one in the ribs and said, "Don't be trying to steal his gas." And so that's actually, I kind of forgot that I even had the thing out in the open, and like Travis said, that's not illegal here. But I just threw my shirt over it when I went in to pay for my gas. I didn't want anybody thinking I was going in to rob the place or anything. So I don't know that we'd ever have an issue like that, but at the same time, I just didn't have time that day to find out. So
here's a question: Has a store robber ever worn an outside the waistband holster in any gun video you've ever seen in your life?
Well, that's a good point.
I don't know. I mean, that's way too much care and effort to go knock off a gas station. I mean, come on, guys.
I do agree with what Steven is saying out in the chat. An arms
Got to get my urban carry. You know, whip it
an
out.
arms society is a polite society.
Hold on a second. Give me your money, right?
I'm thinking about getting one of those urban carry holsters for the Mossberg Shockwave.
Shockwave down it. I'll be taking Slim Jims and all these.
The 590. Do you think you could fit a 590M with that 20-round magazine?
One down each pant leg.
Yeah, no doubt. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So that's everybody. If you haven't checked out any of these folks' channels, you need to go to everybody's channel and just check everybody out here that's in our panel. They've got some high quality stuff, a lot better than I think what you can find on my channel, and that's saying something. So
debatable.
But okay, now what I really want to get into is just the whole mindset. Some of you that haven't carried, maybe you might not know a whole lot as far as the topic goes. You're welcome to jump in, ask questions, share insights, but I don't necessarily just want to go around the horn. I kind of want this to be a round table, but I just noticed my own personal experience. Here's kind of how I got into concealed carry. I've always been a gun guy since I was a little kid. I grew up with guns, in the house, and some of my earliest memories, are watching Dad shoot his 22 rifle, some target practice, things like that, and having hunters come in and ask permission to go hunt turkey or deer, whatever. So I mean, guns have always been part of the family. As far as carrying one, that's only been the last few years. It was before I got married, but it was after I met Sandhills' sweetheart. And I'd always thought, hey, it would be cool. And that's kind of where the idea first came, about, was how cool would that be, just to be able to carry a gun all the time. And that's honestly where it started. And then the more I looked into it, taking the concealed carry class, kind of just thinking about everything. And then once that permit came, actually putting this gun on and feeling that weight, literally feeling that whatever it is, 2 pounds of weight on the side of your belt. I mean, it changes the way that you think about things, or I think it should anyway. But what is everybody else? We'll try not to talk on each other, but I don't want anybody to get left out. What did everybody else feel, before you started carrying? And did the reason why you put that gun on, did it change, or did it evolve at all?
Well, so in Michigan, they had the CCW, Concealed Carry Weapons Permit. They were only giving it to business owners and retired cops. It wasn't that the state was anti-gun or anything. It just wasn't a thing for people. You could petition to get a concealed carry permit, but if you did not own a business or you weren't a retired cop, it was probably not going to happen. It's going to be a lot of paperwork, a royal pain in the butt. They decided to go ahead and a group called the Michigan Coalition for Responsible Gun Owners petitioned to get us concealed carry for everybody. As long as you were able to legally own a handgun, you should be allowed to conceal carry. And they fought and they fought and they fought, and they finally got it through. Well, what they did was they decided to let each county decide the criteria for allowing shall issue. Well, how can you have that? It's kind of an oxymoron. And each county was different. And one of the counties down here by Detroit just did shall issue, period. You're not a criminal, you got a gun, here, pay your fee, take your test, you got a permit. And after a couple of years, the state government realized that was the most expedient, fair way for the tax-paying citizen to, have access to their rights. And they forced all of the counties that had these ridiculous rules, like you had to get a doctor's note or go in front of a board and explain why you needed it and all that. And they made all that go away, and every county became shall issue. Then we got a Democratic governor, and she was so busy dealing with the state's economy, she didn't go after gun control. She did say in her last term that she thought this open carry thing, shall issue, was going to be a problem like it was Wild West, but it didn't happen. No, there weren't all these mass killings and shootings and armed citizens rising up and doing all this. So, but had she been in office when that had when they were petitioning, she might have vetoed it. But she didn't do anything to affect it while she was on her watch. So when this came into play, I got with a group of people at work that were all pro-gun, and we all went in together and took the class, and we were some of the first people to get the shall issue concealed carry permit and no big hang up and that sort of thing. And I did it mostly just to exercise my rights. I hardly ever concealed carried when I had the permit. I didn't really feel a need to. Thing is a pain in the butt to carry around. It's extra weight. Can't take it to work. You know, some other places you can't take it. I don't live anywhere where I'm afraid. Anything can happen anywhere. You could live in the safest city in the United States and something could happen. But the thing is, there just really wasn't a whole lot. That's not to say nothing's ever happened. It's just, I'm not afraid. So I didn't hardly ever carry the thing. I let my permit expire. So after that, I decided just, open carry's free. So I would just switch to open carry. Eventually, I'll go back, take the class all over again, fill out the paperwork, pay all the money, go through all the BS, and get my concealed carry permit. But when I get it again, I'll probably do the same thing. Hardly ever carry the thing.
Yeah, I was a little different. I didn't really get into guns until I joined the Marine Corps back in the mid-'90s, early '90s, and that kind of got me into guns. When I got out, I always had a gun because I traveled quite a bit. I always had a gun in the car, but it wasn't like I was trying to carry. And then I kind of got into shooting more and trying to make a point to go to the range, and that's when I decided 5-6 years ago to start carrying. And I was kind of like you, Sandy. I carry because I enjoyed guns, and I thought, this would be kind of cool to be able to carry a gun. In the state of Arkansas, it's very, very gun friendly, so it helps. But then it evolved into now it is I carry every day, everywhere I go that I legally can carry. And luckily, in the state of Arkansas, they started this enhanced carry permit that basically there's only a few places that I can't carry now. So I can carry pretty much wherever I want to, and I do it on a daily basis, not because I'm in fear of my life. I live in a small rural town in Arkansas that's very, very safe. But for me, it's just part of when I get up in the morning, I grab my keys, I grab my gun, I grab my wallet, and I grab my keys. It's just a part of my life now. And I almost feel naked without my gun. So it has not necessarily, I'm not doing it to exercise my rights. I'm not doing it necessarily for protection. I do it because I enjoy carrying my gun and I want to start a conversation. Sometimes I do carry open on the second of every month. I try to try to start a conversation. But for me, it's more or less, it's just part of my everyday. I grab my gun when I put it in my holster and I put it in my belt and I go to work and I do whatever I got to do. And I go out in town. I'm always carrying, and I do like concealed carry versus open carry though. I do prefer concealed carry if I had it, but for me, it's just now I just enjoy it, and it's just part of my life. And I do feel the need to protect myself, my family, anyone else should a tendency or a situation rise up. But I don't do it for that reason necessarily. It's not the only reason. I do it because I enjoy carrying a gun, and I enjoy just guns being part of my life.
Awesome.
The first time I carried my P226 when I was in Indiana, it genuinely scared me a little bit because I have that mindset that I necessarily don't like confrontation at all. And normally I carry a knife because, I always have boxes and things to open, and it's just something to have with you in case you need to cut a wire or something. But with me carrying, a firearm, it made me be a little more timid about everything that I did, but at the same time, it kind of gave part of my brain this almost power trip-ish feeling, which I had to suppress a lot because that could go sideways sometimes if somebody cuts you off in traffic or something, because being in New Jersey, there's a lot of people that don't know how to drive. So there is a very high percentage of people with road rage. You know, it's most people see road rage as like something that just kind of happens. I personally see it as something that's part of your psyche. So that's why I kind of say that most people have a percentage of it. You know, but you know, I'll be honest, I get road rage sometimes because, you know, people don't know how to drive, and then, you know, you blow the horn at them and they just kind of like stick their arm out the window and flip you off. It's just like, really, is that necessary? You're in the wrong because you cut me off. You practically took off my bumper. But back to the subject is that I guess I wouldn't say escalation of confrontation, but that's the only way that I can think to put it. It makes me be a lot more timid when I carry. So
No, that's a very good point. I'm not prone to getting into fights anyway. I've never actually been in a fist fight. My mouth gets me into a lot of trouble, but so far, you know, knock on wood, it's gotten me out of everything that it's ever almost gotten me into. But I definitely think that getting into, you know, into any kind of a rumble like that when you're carrying a gun is, I mean, number one, if you've got the presence of mind to, you know, put your fists up and keep your gun holstered, that's one thing. But just, you know, the fact that, you know, you get in a fight, the cops get called, you've got to give a statement or whatever. In the state of Nebraska, at least, you have to inform law enforcement and emergency personnel that you're carrying, and they have to secure your gun, all that stuff during the contact. You know, it just seems like that could be that could not go your way necessarily. Mm-hmm. You know, especially if anybody says that you started that fight, or, you know, whatever, you were confrontational.
And, you know, one thing that's putting me off from carrying from now on is, since I carry 357 SIG, that's a very blasty cartridge. And usually when I'm in Indiana, you know, I'm with my sister and her husband. And now that they have a child, I don't want to potentially, like, if something goes awry, God forbid, you know, I don't want to more, like, I know this sounds like a kind of something that's privy to, you know, confrontation like that, but I don't want to, you know, injure the poor child's hearing because of, you know, somebody tried robbing my sister's purse or something, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, I mean, you know, the first thing, if you're going to concealed carry or open carry, know the laws, you know, where you are. I mean, it behooves you as a responsible, law-abiding citizen to know what laws by which you abide, right? Mm-hmm. So in the state of Nebraska, I know somebody stealing a purse is not considered grounds for pulling a gun and shooting them. You know, the way that it was explained to me in my carry class, you are justified to use your firearm in the event that you are in imminent danger, or you see someone else and, you know, that's with you, or you know, whatever, you're in a gas station, but you or someone that you can see is in imminent danger of death, severe bodily harm, rape, or kidnapping. Those are the four things that you can use your gun for here. And if you don't believe that you or someone else is in imminent danger of that, which pretty much means somebody's, you know, got a gun pointed, or is coming at you with a knife, or, you know, a giant, you know, human being is coming towards a smaller human being with the intent to, you know, impose their will against the other person's will, anything like that. Anything besides that, you're not justified. Mm-hmm. Then it becomes, you know, assault with a deadly weapon, or homicide, or what have you. Mm-hmm. So you've got to know your laws.
Mm-hmm. And I'll take that a step further. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, anyway. Go ahead.
And that's kind of the disconnect with me, since I primarily live in a state that doesn't allow carry. I just kind of took the class, did the shooting drills for the Utah carry, and then that was it. And so I've been definitely I've only carried twice in my life, and now that I go back to Indiana every so often to visit my sister, I don't really feel the need to carry it anymore because I've taken multiple years of martial arts and I carry a knife with me. I feel more than proficient with a knife.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can I kind of piggyback on what you were saying earlier, Sandy?
Yeah, go
about
ahead.
knowing the laws, and I think that, and obviously, if concealed carry and being part of the carry life, if you want to call it that, is part of your lifestyle, not knowing the laws, one, will get you in some serious legal trouble. But also on the flip side of things, with the temperament of America, with either the anti-gunners or the undecided about guns, it is kind of the responsibility, I believe, to people that are law-abiding people that do make concealed carry part of their lifestyle to make sure they know the laws as well. Because the last thing we want to do is present the visual to these people of a concealed carry person not knowing the laws and getting arrested in public. That hurts everything that we're trying to do. So being a law-abiding gun owner and a concealed carry permit holder, it is part of our responsibility also to make sure that we're not doing anything that could detract from our mission as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The example I make often is people who claim to be, gun people or part of our pro 2A community who are irresponsible, stupid, or break laws with their firearms. They're no more one of us than Westboro Baptist Church in Wichita, Kansas is what I consider to be a Christian like myself. They might claim the name, but they're not acting the way that the Bible tells them to act. And it's the same way you can say that you're pro gun or pro 2A or whatever, but then if you're making the rest of us look bad in front of the world, then yeah, I just assume you didn't have a gun. So I agree with that.
That's something that I don't want to become. And, I feel like my first two experiences carrying were very lackluster. And honestly, I thought they were pretty bad experiences because, I didn't know many laws in Indiana about their carry laws. And, that was a mess up on my part. I'm glad nothing bad happened, but I don't want to become that bad example on the news, like kid with the big handgun murders a single father for trying to rob some person's purse.
Yeah. Real quick, just a correction. I've been informed that Westboro Baptist Church is in Topeka, not Wichita. So I'm sorry, Wichitans, that I mixed you up with the Topekans. And either way, I think everybody got my point. But
I can show you right where the place is. As a matter of fact, I can drive you right to it.
Kind of. So you're gonna take some signs and stand out front of there while they're trying to get into there.
What's funny is somebody bought a house right across the street because it's in a residential neighborhood. Somebody bought a house right across the street and they painted the thing in rainbow colors.
Oh, God.
And they had a wedding over there a couple of years ago, and they call it the Rainbow House now. And
jeez,
are we like the last of the Topekans or something?
The
Topekans. We're gonna change you from Gizzard to Hawkeye, then, aren't we?
Something like that, yeah. But yeah, they're a regular pain up in Topeka. They routinely do protest in the city park, and they line up in front of other churches when they're having their services and tell their people that they're all going to hell and stuff like that.
Yeah, if you don't know who that is, then you're lucky. And I won't even recommend that anybody go check that out. But yeah, that's a rabbit hole we're not going down too far tonight.
I was going to start complaining about the military funerals and protests. But anyway, okay.
Yeah, we'll save that for if they do anything really, really bad and incite violence or something like that. We can discuss it. Hopefully that never happens. But anybody else have anything to add as far as mindset from, before you carried to when you started, and maybe it's different by today?
Well, yeah, I want to extrapolate on what AWAG said. I think everybody needs to carry not only just within their state laws, but also within their comfort level. If this is something that you don't feel comfortable doing, you shouldn't do it. If it's, like I said, for me, it was a hassle. I've been accused of being afraid of guns. You've got to be kidding me. I used to load bombs on aircraft. I ain't scared of a gun. Now, I'm not going to be reckless with one, and I definitely don't like having one pointed at me. But because I don't conceal carry like I used to, and I didn't renew it, or because I open carry, or other things regarding firearms, I've been accused of being afraid of guns. And that stuff just is like, dude, you don't even know me. And, I've had some people tell me that I shouldn't open carry because all I'm doing is advertising to the bad guys, and I'm going to be the first one they kill. And my thing is, I open carry because I want to advertise to the bad guy. Hey, this is what I got. Do you really want a piece of it? Otherwise, it stays in the holster. And, I've said it before. I'm not quick on the draw. When I open carry, I usually open carry in a flap holster. I ain't getting that thing out quick. When I used to conceal carry, I couldn't pull my shirt and draw that thing as fast as I've seen some people do it. And I could probably practice at it. I'm not really, it's just, I don't know. For me, it wasn't a thing. But I think that there's a difference between legitimately being afraid of guns and just not seeing it as that big of a deal. I don't care if somebody exercises their right to conceal carry everywhere they go. I don't even care if some people conceal carry in places that maybe they shouldn't, because at least we've got a good guy with a gun in the building. But just because I don't do it, I don't like being accused of being afraid of guns, or being anti-gun, or being anti-conceal carry, or or I'm advertising to try to pick a fight, or there's a lot of people have their own personal opinions about it. But my thing's always been, you do you and I'll do me. So just if I don't agree with you, don't think that I'm against you, or don't think that I'm not doing what's best for me. So if somebody else says they want to carry every day, or somebody says, I've tried it and I don't like it, I can see both sides of that.
Sure, absolutely.
And I guess that answers my question. It was, I was actually going to ask, what do you think I should do to not really improve my self-confidence about it, but to just improve, not messing up concealed carrying, because, obviously my mentality is...
I would say review the laws and just do it. It's kind of like so many other things in life that are uncomfortable. If you never get out there and do it, you're never going to do it. If you don't go through the discomfort, you're not going to acquire that skill, or you're not going to get past that hurdle, that fear, that whatever it is. And just get out there and do it. Maybe just wear the holster without the gun in it and think about, what would I be doing if I had a gun right now? You say that you're kind of concerned about road rage. I got to tell you, if people who know me know I'm a jerk, right? But when I'm carrying a gun, either open or concealed, I'm a lot more polite, honestly, because I really don't want that liability. I'm not going to be, the gun is the last resort, just like what they give you in your training. And in some states, that's not necessarily the case. In some states, you don't have to, the gun is not the last resort. You can make the gun the first resort and you're legal. Well, here, it don't work like that. And not to mention, lethal force, in my opinion, in a civilian situation is a last resort. This isn't like it being in the military where shoot first and ask questions later. So, with that being the thing, review your laws and try to think about the ramifications of actually having to employ that firearm, whether it be brandishing to stop the attack or actually having to take another human being's life, and just kind of set on that, kind of think it over. Don't play scenarios in your head, these fantasies of how you're going to be John Rambo, and so there's so many people that do that. It's just like, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I took this training for this one scenario, and that'll be the one scenario I go through, and that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, it's kind of like the guys that, you know, and first of all, let me say this: if you like to train and you like to take courses and classes and things like that, power to you. I'm not going to say not to. But the guys that train and learn how to do, you know, somersaults and shoot while standing on their head with their pinky finger of their weak hand because they need to know that stuff in a gunfight, you know, I don't ever expect that I need to be Dirty Harry. I don't ever expect to actually pull my gun in anger or fear or what have you. So if you want to take those classes and you've got the resources to take them, then by all means take them, have fun, but just understand that, you know, you're not part of Rainbow. You're not, you know, you're just
SEAL Team 6.
Yeah, you're not a SEAL. Maybe you were in the past. If you still are, then Uncle Sam pays you to do that cool stuff. But if you're a civilian now, you know, chances are you're never going to need to know that stuff. And if you want to do it, cool. And if I want to do, or if I don't want to do it, then also cool. You know, it's, you guys have made me think of a couple different things as people have been talking. You know, as far as how do you get more comfortable with things? Well, you know, we could have a whole night's discussion on Israeli carry. Those of you that don't know Israeli carry, that is carrying your auto with an empty chamber. You have to rack your slide before you can shoot. Now, apparently every cop in every TV show and movie in the history of the world does this, because nobody ever has a round chamber until they draw their gun in a TV show. It drives me nuts. But now here's the thing. When I first started carrying, my first week of after I got my permit, I wanted, and I'd never carried a gun, you know, before, so I wanted to make sure that that my holster that I had was going to be adequate, that, you know, nothing would get in the trigger guard, nothing would I'd cause a negligent discharge. I carried for the first couple days, I carried with an empty chamber. I had my striker cocked that way because I have the Glock, and so the trigger doesn't reset, you know, until you cycle the slide on that. So I would know at the end of the day when I pulled that gun out if the trigger had been pulled inadvertently, and it of course would have dropped the striker on an empty chamber. That never happened. It's, you know, we all know, those of us with Glocks, we all know how safe they are. But at the same time, you know, I wanted to be sure. And I did that for a couple days or about a week before I started carrying with one in the chamber. And, you know, I've never looked back since. But, you know, again, anybody who shames somebody for carrying, you know, without carrying one in the chamber, or if you've got a revolver and you carry on an empty chamber, you know, whatever it is, if you've got an old revolver with a hammer mounted firing pin and you want to carry with one, you know, the hammer on an empty chamber, I think that's kind of halfway smart. If you've got a transfer bar system, then, you know, it can't hit the firing pin until the trigger is pulled back. That's different. That's a safety feature on the more modern revolvers. But if you feel more comfortable carrying, if you want to start off carrying an empty revolver just to get a feel for it, you know, you're no worse off than not carrying. And that's, to me, again, those people who actually have to use their firearm to defend themselves or to defend others, how many of those people are actually, you know, quick drawing? How many of these people are beating the bad guy to the draw? You know, this is not the Wild West. Not everybody is Marshal Matt Dillon, who honestly had one of the slowest draws I've ever seen. But the man put him where he aimed him, and so there's something to be said for that too. But I mean, you know, if it takes you a while to draw and fire because you've got to lift a coat and a shirt or two to get to your handgun, you know, at the very least, that's something you need to practice and get proficient at it. But what is it that they teach in the military? Slow is smooth and smooth is fast, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So be good at it.
Would you rather get 10 rounds downrange and not hit a thing, or would you rather get 4 or 5 rounds downrange and hit the target every time?
That's right.
You got to think about that. I mean, I've had people accuse me of being afraid because sometimes I carry without a round in the chamber. I've open and concealed carry with a round in the chamber, without a round in the chamber, with the safety on, with the safety off. Different situations require different things. If you don't have a round in that chamber, you cannot have an ND. And for the people who say, I've got a Glock, there's no way I can have an ND. BS. And there's lots of people who go, safeties are bad because it's a mechanical thing that's going to fail. Well, okay, quit carrying around your high point. Because, I mean, if your gun isn't reliable, you might want to rethink the gun you're having. That doesn't mean you can't leave the safety off, remove the safety, or buy a gun without a safety. Get what you like, get what you think will work, and if you don't want to use it, don't use it. But if somebody else wants to carry using a safety, or if somebody wants to carry without a round in the chamber, I'll give you a good example of when not to carry with a round in the chamber. At a 2A rally, that is the last place you want to have an ND. And if you go, well, just carrying it in the holster, it can't go off. Well, it definitely can't go off if there ain't a round in the chamber. When I went down to Ohio, I did not open carry, but I could have. I didn't know I couldn't. And what I heard when I was down there was the state police said, absolutely, you can conceal and open carry according to our state laws, but we just ask that you don't carry with a round in the chamber. That way there's no chance of an ND. I did not think that was an unreasonable request. And there's situations like that. Plenty of people have been shot with an empty gun. There are times where maybe carrying without a round in the chamber is not a bad idea, but I don't think it fits every scenario.
You guys have heard me say this before. The most dangerous kind of gun in the world is the unloaded kind.
But there are lots of times where having one in the chamber and being ready to go is a good idea too. You just have to decide what works for you. So some people, because of their training or lack of training, are experts and they want to pipe in their opinion. And sometimes you can learn something from your friends. Other times, like you were talking about, the shaming, all that does is just either put distance between people, or it just drives people away from the community, or deters them from wanting to even do this.
I can't think of a faster way to turn somebody off of carrying a gun or owning a gun or shooting a gun than to be made fun of when they don't know anything yet, or they're just trying to learn. You know,
when I have somebody who didn't buy their first gun until 5 years after my concealed pistol license expired, tell me how to conceal carry. Okay, you know what I'm saying? It's like, really, dude, you're gonna tell me?
Well, and here's the thing. You know, there's as many different ways to carry, or you know, guns and holster combinations. I don't think any one of us in this panel is carrying the same gun, let alone in the same holster or in the same place on their waist or you know, on their body. What works for me doesn't work for any of you necessarily, and it might not. It doesn't matter, because it's comfortable to me, and that's the holster that I've found. I didn't even show mine off. I've got my shield, and this is a Bravo torsion, they call it, torsion holster. It came with an extra clip here, but it's not tuckable. This is tuckable. You know, I don't carry at work, but if I did, nobody know. But there's the old shield, and yes, it's loaded. Don't worry, you can't get shot through a camera.
Kind of going back to what AWAG was asking about, kind of learning how to carry and all that. I'll tell you a piece of advice that I give to a lot of people around here. They'll say, I want to start carrying and all that, blah, blah, blah. And I tell them, look, if you're not comfortable yet, the best way to become more comfortable with that gun is to carry inside your house. Mm-hmm. And if you don't want to leave the house for a while, then take the gun off, but carry inside the house. And if you want to carry unloaded, you're not learning to carry with a loaded chamber at that point. You're learning to not touch it, to not fiddle with it, to not, you know, to get more comfortable with carrying. So carry it around your house. And once you feel comfortable with that, then you start slowly. You say, well, I'm going to go to the gas station and pick up some soda or some bread or some milk. I think this time I'm only going to be in there for a few minutes, so I'm going to take the gun with me. So you start out slowly. You go to that gas station. You walk in, you get your milk, you walk out, you get home, you take the gun off or whatever. But at least now you've gone to the public, and start slowly, especially for some of the states that have like some up to 120 days or 90 days to get your permit. That's a perfect time to practice that. Once you passed all your concealed carry stuff and you send this stuff into the state, and it might take up to 90 days to get your permit. You've got 90 days to wear that around your house, become comfortable with it, to become more familiar with it, to get your practicing at the range, practice drawing from the holster, practice drawing from concealment. If you decide to not carry one in the chamber, then guess what? You go to the range and you practice drawing, racking that slide, taking the safety off, and getting your shot down range. However you're going to carry it, just practice that way and be proficient with it.
Same thing goes for a manual safety.
Exactly.
If you've got a gun with a manual safety, then practice. And I don't know. I don't know how everybody else feels. I think probably everybody would agree, but dry fire is priceless.
Every day.
You know, if you, especially in a situation like mine where I don't have a range to go to close by, dry fire is the practice that I get. But the first step is to figure out what room you're going to dry fire in, if it's the bedroom or if you're going to do it watching TV, what have you. Walk into a different room and clear your weapon. Unload it, take the magazine out, clear the chamber, and leave your ammo in a separate room, first of all. That way you don't end up shooting your TV or what have you. But, you know, if you're going to watch The Walking Dead and shoot zombies, or, you know, whatever you're going to do, if you're going to watch football and shoot the other team, you know, just make sure that you're doing it with a you know, a cleared weapon, of course. But practice that trigger control, practice sight alignment, practice drawing, and getting that sight picture. You know, practice all those things. We talked about different grip methods when we were on Caliber Corner last Saturday, or 2 Saturdays ago, whenever it was, and you know, just make sure that you know, you're learning this stuff. Make flipping that safety off part of the process. It's got to be muscle memory. It's got to be something that you don't think about. And everybody can learn that. Everybody who's driven a car, that was nerve-wracking when you first started. You know, you learned how to drive a car maybe in a parking lot. Then you went on the road for the first time, and you were nervous. You probably should have been. You know, you had to learn how to put your blinker on and things like that. You know, keep the clutch and the brake pedal and the gas all separate. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to remember. But now, how many of us can, you know, we don't think about driving. We're busy talking or you know, listening to the radio, or, you know, shaving. Who knows what people do in the car. But you know, we can do other things because the driving is just second nature, and carrying, drawing, sight alignment, all that stuff. Practice it don't practice until you get it right. Practice until you can't get it wrong.
I don't have statistics sitting like right here in front of me, but going back to what Squid was talking about a little earlier with the open carry, if somebody makes the argument to you that the bad guy is going to see you open carrying and shoot you and take your gun, the statistics on that have to be almost non-existent. Now, maybe the statistics would bump up a little bit more when somebody seeing that you have one and trying to wrestle it away from you. But generally, somebody with a gun, if they're shooting somebody else that's got it, that they see as open carrying, that's not a robbery going on. That's a homicide. You know, that was intended murder. It wasn't, hey, I'm going to go rob this guy's wallet. Oh, he's got a gun. Let me shoot him. No, it's I'm going to pick someone who doesn't have a gun. So make sure you educate yourselves when somebody starts saying stuff like, well, if you open carry, somebody's gonna grab your gun and kill you with it. Well, show me the statistics on how that actually happens, and then we can have the conversation on that.
And you also have to understand also, if you're going to carry, part of your responsibility is being cognitive of your surroundings, kind of knowing where you are and who's around and knowing where the exits are. And I'm not saying being paranoid, but if you're going to take the responsibility of carrying, you need to be responsible of knowing your surroundings as well.
Absolutely.
Those are things that I do ordinarily anyhow, but when I do have a firearm, I tend to do that a little bit more. I tend to be more aware, just like being more polite or thinking about maybe my mouth gets me in trouble like you too, Sandhills, and sometimes when I'm carrying, I'm trying to think more about what I'm saying, which is something I really don't like doing. But yeah, it's I don't think that I don't think that some of the differences or the opinions they all they really do is just kind of annoy me. I mean, when I've been told that somebody's going to take my gun and use it, they're going to if they try to get my gun on my holster, I'm going to pistol whip them with it. I'm not going to shoot them with it. I'm going to beat them over the head with it.
Yeah.
But
Well, and you
I've
also
been
take
told that I'll be the first one targeted. Like the bad guy's coming in there, and who's he going to kill first? Well, he's going to kill the guy who has the gun and open carrying because he's the biggest threat. Then he'll just go ahead and take over everything, because he's killed the sheepdog. I'm not a sheepdog. I ain't there to protect other people. If they're in danger and I have the means and whatnot, of course. But I ain't looking to. There are some people that go out there with the hero thing, and I don't open carry because I'm trying to show off, or I think I'm the hero in the crowd, and I don't know if maybe some people look at it that way.
and I mean also it, it goes back to understanding a little bit about what's going on around you. Once again, Squid, you say, somebody comes up to you to try to take your gun. Well, okay, my answer to that is I can fight. When you're trying to take my gun, I'm not just going to curl up into a ball. I'm going to fight you back. And I'm going to fight you with everything I got. So it's not like you're just going to easily take my gun. Most people, you're the guys who are bouncers, the real big muscle guys that can knock you out with one punch. They're not wrestling with people. That's the hysteria that the media and anti-gunners put into people's head about scenarios that go on in life. They're not realistic. I'm 6'2", I weigh about 160 pounds, so I'm a tall, skinny guy. A big bouncer isn't going to bother fighting me unless he's got to. If he sees that I got a gun, most likely he's going to leave me alone.
The last person.
It's just real world scenarios make a lot of people just throw out these what ifs, how about this, and there's no real validity to their arguments.
Well, the last person who said that the guy's going to take your gun out of your holster, I said, no, I'm going to beat him with it, and I hope they got a good dentist because they're going to be losing some teeth because I don't carry one of those sissy plastic guns. My guns are made out of steel and aluminum, and they will knock out teeth, and that's what I will do. But I'm also not going around. It's like the whole sheepdog thing. I'm not going around looking for this fight. I can handle myself in a fight if I have to, but I'm not going around looking for this fight. And you can look at actual cases where there have been crimes committed, firearms were used either by law enforcement or by law-abiding citizens, whatever, whether it be out in public in their home. Some of these things have bizarre stuff happen, and there's always that unpredictable element. You can't cover every scenario. Sometimes you can train and train and train, or you can think of what's most likely to happen in your area or in your environment or your day-to-day life or whatever it is. But sometimes you're just going to have to improvise on the fly. And if you can't do that, you might want to learn.
Well, and a show of force just proves that it's a hard target too, and not a soft target. It makes me think about was it the shooter that went to the Pulse nightclub, I believe it was. Is that the shooter who they have video footage of that same person went to Disney World earlier that day?
Yeah.
And Disney World is not a soft target. They have got armed security. I mean, that's one of the safest places you can be, the way it was described in the article I read. You're very safe in Disney World because the guards are all armed. And so the suspect went up to the gates and saw all that, turned around, and found a better target with a gun-free zone because Disney World was not going to be a place where they could get in and commit crime and get out. And so just having that show of force, I think, it implies, hey, don't mess with me. I think that anybody who sees that open carried pistol and takes that to be, a chip on somebody's shoulder, that they're just daring you to come try them, come knock that off their shoulder. I don't think so. I mean, I'm not gonna mess with the guy who is open carrying. Now, I'm not a criminal, and I don't have the mindset of somebody that's going in to rob a bank or anything like that. Of course, I can't open or concealed carry in a bank, but I mean, my point is, if you're in an area where people are grouped together and you think you're the first, or you think the open carrier is the first one to get shot, I would say that the chances of that are so slim as to be almost non-existent.
I get the premise behind it. I get the premise behind the people who say that you should not use a safety, and you should always have one in the chamber, and that you should only use this caliber, and you should only. I mean, I get the premise behind so many different things because there's so many instructors out there saying it, and some of this stuff gets parroted. The problem I have with it is some of this stuff is bad information. It's total bogus. Some of it is actual authentic, but some of it is bogus, and it's been repeated and repeated and repeated. And there's always new people coming in constantly, and there's people coming in literally with no background at all, and they're parroting bad information and telling their friends who come in, and before you know it, you've got a mixture of good and bad information out there.
And let me give some advice to. I don't think this is advice to anybody that's in this panel, and probably not to anybody who is out there in the chat right now, or happens to catch this on replay. But if you are just getting into guns, or just getting into carry, or just getting into any of anything really, let me give you one piece of advice that I think we can all agree on. You can take this to the bank. If anybody tells you that their way is the way, they are full of poop, and you should run screaming from that person and not take advice from them ever again. Ask people for advice, get lots of different options. We can all give you different options and ways that we do things, and we can even tell you why we do them. But that doesn't mean it's the best way for you. You got to find your own way. And any instructor or any advisor who tells you this is the way and do it like this because I know things, they're full of crap, and you don't want that person instructing or advising you.
Yeah. There was, I don't know if it was like Dateline or 2020, or it was one of those. This was probably 4, 5, 6 years ago. And I remember seeing it because I don't watch a lot of that stuff, but I was flipping through channels and they were talking about guns. I was like, oh, this is interesting. You don't see much gun talk on this stuff, mainstream news. And basically what happened was they went to a federal prison and talked to people that were criminals of breaking and entering or whatever. And 100% of the people that were interviewed for this said that the question that was asked is, if you knew that there was people inside the building or the house that you were going to break into that you knew had guns and were proficient with them, would you still go there? And 100% of them said, no, I'm going to go somewhere where I know that the threat is not high. I'm going to go somewhere, a soft target, a school zone or whatever, but I'm going to go somewhere where I'm not in fear of my life. So that just proves it coming from the criminals themselves saying, I'm not going somewhere where I know there might be guns.
See, that's the point that I was making earlier too. Is people think that they know who criminals are, and they've never been around one, and they've never stole a pack of gum in their life, and they could never be more wrong. If you think about it, each and every criminal has only one thing in common, and that's self-preservation. Whatever that might be, whether it's making money, getting something to eat, or whatever. A lot of the hype is that this drug-crazed lunatic is running around, breaking into, Andrews Air Force Base and taking on the whole army to get one gun. That stuff doesn't happen. Crime is a business. It's your drug addicts that are out there pinching stuff and robbing from Walmart to get high are a different story than your actual criminal who is doing what they want to do to advance themselves. You know, there's a profit motive. It's a capitalistic thing, whether you like it or not, it is. And criminals aren't stupid. And a lot of people want to think that criminals are stupid, and that's where they come up with a lot of these crazy scenarios. You know, of course, why would you even ask the question? If that house right there that I'm looking at has got, you know, trained snipers in there, would I rob them? Of course I wouldn't, because they're trained snipers. I wouldn't make it. I wouldn't make it out of the neighborhood before they got me. You know, I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think 100%. And you got to figure out also is they're trying to survive. They're trying to get whatever they're trying to get with the least amount of resistance. That's why soft targets and gun-free zones are what's hurting this society. Is you're literally giving them target-rich environments. If you are able to get rid of gun-free zones, and many people might not be carrying, but the threat and the idea there could be is a deterrent in itself.
Yeah, they've asked the question before with criminals. Well, why don't you rob a bank? I'm scared. The number one answer as to why you don't rob a bank is I don't want to get caught. Because if not getting caught, I'd go rob a bank right now if I didn't have to worry about getting caught. But that's just it. They don't want to get caught, so they don't rob the bank. What do? They take money from their mom's purse. Or they, you know, steal from their best friend who, you know, they know will forgive them, or whatever the deal is when you're talking about people that are, you know, scrounging money for drugs.
Well, right, and that just goes back to prove the point that you know, a gun-free zone only works on law-abiding people. So, you know, if you've got people who are criminals, which by definition is someone who doesn't abide by the law, and you want to make a law to stop the person, you know, that's kind of like saying, you know, we've got this guy that's playing football and he keeps breaking the rules, and the referees, instead of throwing him out of the game, they want to just put more rules in the game. It's not going to help.
You know, you were talking about maybe like Hollywood glorifying criminals and villains and glorifying guns and all that. You know, a part of it comes back to the original Fast and Furious. I don't know if you guys watched those. I love those movies, but there towards the end, there was a thing being said is, guys, we've got to catch these guys quickly, or these truck drivers are going to start carrying guns themselves, and these guys are going to disappear. Well, the notion is if these guys are stealing trucks and stealing stuff inside the trucks, but they know the truck drivers are going to be carrying shotguns, they're probably not going to go steal those trucks or steal the cargo. So, you know, a gun is the natural equalizer.
And look what
and
happened.
It sounds bad, you know.
At
exactly.
The end of that movie, that truck driver had a shotgun and ruined everybody's day.
This is true.
You know, of course, he broke the law in California, but
I don't think he cared. It's Hollywood still.
No, right?
Well, maybe not back in 2001 when that movie first came out. You know.
Yeah, but that's just it.
Yeah.
Is you know, if and the thing is, the police weren't there. They can't be everywhere. Police show up to investigate a crime and maybe draw lines in chalk or get fingerprints, but I don't even know the statistics. I don't know if anybody can get those, but the number of times that the police actually get to stop a crime in progress and prevent murder, prevent assault, prevent rape, things like that. When's the last time we heard about an officer actually preventing it before it happened? You know, and that's not to take anything away from law enforcement. They're excellent people, and they do everything they can. The fact of the matter is, they're not Superman, and they can't be everywhere, and they can't get places in 2 seconds.
The cops in Baltimore City know where all the drugs are, because generally we'll just use the lamest terms, the street corner stays the same for a year. So when you see 10 guys hanging out on one corner 2 days in a row, that's the corner. the people still complain, why aren't you getting these guys off the corners? Why aren't you getting these drug dealers? Why aren't you getting these guns off the streets? If the cops were to just go, okay, we know that those guys right there are all drug dealers and have guns, let's just go snatch them all up. The media would have a feeding frenzy, and all those cops would lose their jobs and probably end up in jail. So the cops are not going to be able to win. Either they don't show up on time, they were too late, or they're too early and they're racially profiling or overstepping their jurisdiction. You know, they're not going to ever get a chance to win. And, I mean, that's just the perspective I have from watching what happens in Baltimore City. It might not be the same everywhere.
Well, you're talking about cops. When's the last time, I think Sandy said, when's the last time you heard about a cop stopping something before it happened? Well, you're not going to get many chances
while
of that
it happens, anyway.
While it happens, yeah. Well, you're not going to see it a whole lot because chances are, let's say take a gas station, for instance. If a guy goes in with the intent of robbing a gas station, sees a cop in there, he's going to go somewhere else. Not because it's a cop that he's worried about getting arrested. He's worried about getting shot by that cop. Now, most of the times that you hear about a cop stopping something while it happened, it's either an off-duty cop or an undercover cop that's concealed carrying, wearing plain clothes to where they don't know it's a cop. So, you know, a uniformed cop isn't going to have that opportunity a whole lot because even the dumbest criminals are going to go somewhere else if they see a uniformed cop.
Sure, and even just the fact that, you know, let's say that this one drives me nuts, and it goes, it still kind of applies to concealed carry or lack thereof. But, you know, the college campuses, which, you know, the vast majority of college campuses are still gun free. And let's say that they have a nice little app. You can put an app on your phone to where, you know, if you get assaulted, then it alerts campus police, and they come and do what? Tell you that they will try and find the person that attacked you, because there's very few security cameras, and what's that app gonna do? Excuse me, Mr. Rapist. You can't rape me because I have an app on my phone, and you must stop
It's
now.
not funny, but it is.
It's not, and that's not a funny topic, but the absurdity.
He's laughing because of how ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, it's anybody who thinks that they're safer because they have an app on their phone. Again, that's dumber than believing that guy that says his way is the only way. So the fact of the matter is, yeah, there sometimes are cops who are in the right place at the right time to thwart a crime. But once a crime starts to be committed, you know, a bank robbery in progress, an assault in progress, a mugging in progress. I mean, when's the last time you heard about a beat cop walking around a corner and stopping a mugging before it had, or a carjacking before it was completed, you know, and apprehended the criminal, and nobody lost their car, nobody lost their life, nobody lost any, you know, blood, anything like that. We don't hear, and it might happen and the news doesn't cover it.
Well, one thing that you do hear quite a bit about is after the cop either shows up on time, afterwards, investigates, whatever, when the person goes to court, they walk out with a slap on the wrist, or you know, they get a really short sentence and they're back out on the street and multiple offender over and over and over again. So the conversation, when they start talking about, you know, what are the police doing, why aren't the police, talk about what the courts are doing. You know, the police are doing everything that they can in most cases. Some cases you have some bad cops, some cases you have some great cops. But what's happening in the courtroom is where the actual travesty of justice is, because these people,
Well, sure.
constant reoffenders. You know, we can't have that.
The justice system, I think, needs to be reformed too. But my point is the fact that law enforcement, for, you know, as great as these people are, and as much good as they can do, and it's good that we have them. But my point is, their job is to come after the fact. You know, it's their job is to come and mop up or investigate what happened. They don't get a chance very often to stop a crime in progress because there just aren't enough police to be everywhere, and we can't depend on police to keep us safe, or campus security to keep our kids safe. We've got to take responsibility. I think we've each got some skin in that game, and it upsets me that there are places where the government does not allow us to take that responsibility into our own hands. They insist on making our decisions for us, and yet they can't guarantee us safety either. I've always said that at any such point as the government can guarantee my safety and my family's safety, I will gladly disarm. If they can 100% guarantee me that nothing bad's going to happen, and they can stop it before it starts or stop it before it gets too far, and guarantee that ahead of time, then I won't need to carry, because I'll know that they can be there. But until such time as that guarantee is there, then they can sit on it and spin. I feel responsible for my own safety and my wife's safety when we're out in public. Any place that I'm legally allowed to carry, I will do so. Do I ever expect to actually have to make sure that we're safe? No. But is the option there? If I choose to use that option, yeah, it's there. And I feel, I don't know how you folks who live in those states that don't allow you to do that. I don't even want to visit those states. It drives me nuts to have to go places and not be able to take my gun.
Well, I think it's a great point. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, guys. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll be quick. What I tell myself every day, as far as that goes, Sans, is I'm doing my best to be a good representative because I'm following the laws of the state I live in. It sucks, man. I hate it.
And you are. I just think that we need to challenge those laws. And I know that you do your part there too. And good on you.
It's terrible. Maryland's horrible. Don't bring your gun here unless you're going directly to a range.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Ghost, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, going back to what you were saying is the police can only do so much, like we've always said, and sometimes even the police officers are maybe a little fearful to pull a trigger because they're worried about getting prosecuted by the media, prosecuted by internal affairs and all that. But the flip side of that is also, if you feel a responsibility to protect yourself and your family, the great thing about that scenario is that you try to live your life knowing that the chances of it ever having to come true and ever having to use your gun are slim to none. We're not the paranoid people. We're just the people who sit there and say, look, you look at MSD, you look at, Columbine, you look at all of these places that are these shootings, and what do all of them have in common? Every single person said, I never thought it would happen here, ever. I never saw this coming. Never thought it would happen in my hometown. And as much as I live in a safe community that I'll probably never, ever have to pull my gun in public and ever have to use it, the fact that there are always crazy people around there just enough desperate to do something nuts that if I can help save myself, my family, or my friends because I happen to have that gun does not make me paranoid. It just makes me prepared. And I think that if you're willing and able to do so, then you should. If you're not willing or able to do so, then you should, and that's okay. Just because you're a gun person doesn't mean that everyone's mentally ready to carry. It doesn't mean that everyone should carry. It just means if you're able and willing to and prepared to do so, then you're just another line of defense.
Absolutely. And yeah, double A. Oh, go ahead, Squib.
I'm kind of the same mindset with the whole I want the ability to carry where I go. Am I still there? Look like you froze up.
Nope, you're good.
Okay, all right. I just had to freeze up just a while ago. Well, I just
look, candy.
My thing is
candy bar.
Oh, what's that doing there, kitten?
Ooh, eye candy.
Getting ready for
yeah, there's my conceal carry.
Somebody say crayons?
So.
All right, go ahead. Let him talk.
No, I think that you should be able to conceal carry or open carry, whatever you want, wherever you want, whenever you want. However, that's just not going to happen overnight. Maybe one day the laws will be changed that way. In addition, I'd like to see the laws change where if you're a law-abiding citizen with no criminal record, using a gun that you legally purchased or that was loaned to you or whatever, it's not a stolen gun, it's not a whatever, and you used it lawfully in self-defense or defense of others, then it should be cut and dry. Handshake, here's your gun back, and sorry to hold you up so long, sir or ma'am, and on your way. And there's no chance of any jail time or liability. That's a fantasy world. Maybe one day it'll be like that, but it's going to be a long time before it is like that. But the most important thing to me is, what rights do you have? Do you have the right to conceal carry? Do you have the right to open carry? Do you have the right to carry in this building or in this location? Or that's more important to me to have the ability than to actually use that ability. So it doesn't mean that I'm afraid to use it or I disagree with using it. I don't care. But for me, it's having that ability means more than actually doing it.
Absolutely. And a right is like anything else. If it's not exercised, it goes away. So those of us who have the ability and the right, I think it behooves us to exercise that right. I think that I've recommended to people to get their concealed carry permit, even if they don't intend on carrying every day. Get that permit and be a statistic for the good.
One nice thing about that is, though, the advantages you get with it. I'm sure Michigan isn't the only state that lets you use your concealed pistol license as your background check.
It is. I can cash and carry a handgun here in Nebraska with my permit.
That's what I do in Arkansas.
Yeah,
Gun shop, gun show.
That's one of the main reasons I want to get mine again. Is because I'd be carrying every day. It's saves some paperwork.
Now, to buy a handgun in Nebraska, you have to get a handgun permit. Or have a concealed carry permit, but either way, you have to do the background check just to get the permit to buy a handgun at all.
And what country is this you guys live in?
Well, come on out, man.
Hey, the water's warm, man.
Sorry about that.
When I buy a handgun from an FFL, he just does a 4473. He fills out the Michigan State Police paperwork, and I get a copy, and he sends a copy off, and blah blah blah. When I buy from a private owner, I've got to go to the police department first, get the paperwork. Can't just make it myself or whatever. I mean, they have blank copies that you can download off the internet, but that's not. You have to get one that's been already approved by your local police department, sheriff department, whatever you've got, and take it to that private owner, and he fills out one, and you fill out one, and you turn in one, and blah 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 blah. Well, if you've got the Michigan concealed pistol license, all you got to do is show them that, and you're good to go. And then you can fill it out. You can fill it out yourself and drop it off with the police department instead of having to go get one pre-done from them, approved from them. Your concealed pistol license, when you're buying from a private owner, a handgun, is their evidence that you are not a bad guy in the eyes of the Michigan State Police. So, and I know for some people go, that's BS. In my state, I could just go buy from my neighbor and blah, blah. Okay, dude, I get that. All right. We don't have that here. I'm not saying I agree with our goofy pistol registration or that sort of BS. But the laws used to be a lot more restrictive. You used to have to go get the permit no matter what. You used to not be able to get a concealed pistol license. When you went to go get it, it was only good, I think, for 2 weeks. And then when you were done, you had to take the gun down to the police department. They had to do a safety inspection. They got rid of all of that stuff, and they streamlined it. So I've been where it's been worse. And for those who want to say, oh, you've got it so bad, you know what? There are people with worse. This is really not that bad. It's a hassle, but they've done things to minimize that hassle. In some states where they're taking away rights, in my state, they're slowly, very slowly, giving us our rights back. And I'm glad, and I don't want that momentum to stop. And I'd like to see that happen in other places. I'd like to see it stop going against the people and work its way back for the people.
Yep. Amen. Amen. All right. I didn't realize how late it's getting, so we're going to wrap up. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. And just real quick, I've missed a lot of people in the side chat here. I think that Midnight Range was even in the group here for a little bit, and I didn't even realize that he was here until he left. So Food Travis, I'm sorry that I didn't acknowledge you. I'm just that bad of a host, honestly. So So thanks for joining us, and thanks for hanging out in the chat. Real quick, Double A had a cool comment when we were talking about all of the school or nightclub or whatever shootings. They've all had one common thread. They've all been in a gun-free zone. I think if we repealed gun-free zones, that we'd have a lot fewer shootings anywhere. But thanks, Double A, for making that comment. So just real quick, one final roll call here on the gun channel side. I don't know if anybody even chatted. Nope, nobody besides me. Didn't think so. So on the YouTube side, we've got Jorge Cortez, Armament and Axes, Ozzy Osbourne is here. Vanessa Kitty showed up. Who else is in here that I've missed? Ghost showed up here and there. Obnoxious One, Scott P. Yesterday's Pomade, Rob D. Who else am I missing here? I know there's been a few others. Andrew Faulkner was here. I think I mentioned him earlier. John Brown Productions, Travis T. WB. Kevin the Tack Daddy was here for a comment, and then looks like he left again. Who else do we have in here? I think that's Vash Matrix. Thanks for stopping by. Gizzard Gary made it over to the side chat or the YouTube chat, along with being here in the panel. Pacific Northwest Woods, one of my newest Facebook friends. Thanks for stopping by here. Freedom for All. Stephen Kaiser was in the house. I think that's Travis P11 was in the house here and there. Roll call 219. Hey, I missed you. Thanks for showing up. Next time I have one of these, hopefully next week, let me know if you want a link roll call, and I'll get you one of those. WB Philo, thanks for stopping by. Grim 90 and AWAG 1000. Calaveras 32 Special was here, then he had to leave. And last and certainly not least, my favorite YouTube and Gun Channels member, Sandhills Sweetheart, the lady who holds the keys to my heart. So thanks everybody for joining us over on the YouTube side, and more of you need to go on the Gun Channel side. I'm not kidding. If you're not part of Gun Channels, you should be. There's no excuse. It's free. Get over to gunchannels.com, sign up, and check out everything there is to see there. If there's anything gun or 2A related, doesn't matter what kind of gun you're into, there's somebody there that is as well, whether it's for sport, hunting, antique, collector, whatever it is, concealed carry, personal protection. Just because they're cool, there's somebody there that agrees with you and likes the stuff that you like, I guarantee it. So go check that out. I'm going to let everybody kind of go through and sign off, and if you want to plug anything on your channel, go ahead and do so. We will go backwards through the room. So Travis P11, are you still here? There you are.
Yeah, no, man, I'm with you. I just finally
cool.
turned the light and the camera off. It's been a couple hours. So I'm giving my eyes a rest.
Sure.
No, man, no. Yeah, and I appreciate the invite. Thank you very much. And again, guys, if you can legally conceal carry when you can. Otherwise, check out my channel, Travis P11 over on YouTube, and I'm on all the other platforms, Gunstreamer, YouTube, etc. Guntube.org, gunchannels.com, and then also check out Saturday morning podcast called Caliber Corner. It's on an 8 a.m. Central Time, the most important time zone anywhere. We have different topics every week. I've already got the next episode posted. I think we're coming up on episode 64 maybe. So like or subscribe to the channel, mash the bell so you guys don't miss any alerts or any updates. And that's it, man. So thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for being here.
Cool.
Squib Load, I can tell by the sound of your voice you must be home. And I think the missus must be in bed. So go ahead and you're so soothing when you're talking right now. I want to hear more of that. Go ahead and plug your channel.
My voice, like I'm some sort of radio show host.
You were until you
like that.
Yeah. Just kind of. I'm almost fell asleep just listening. Just kidding.
Is that Delilah talking?
What was I supposed to say?
What do you have coming up on your channel, and do you have any other shows that you'd like to plug?
Yeah, but I mean,
or
your own one, so.
or other platforms that you show up on, like
No,
Gunstream
not that
or GunTube.
sophisticated. No, I'm not that sophisticated. I don't need an ID. I don't Facebook. I don't any of that stuff. This is the most social media I do. Yeah, I got some lame videos in the works. Whether or not I'll get them out, I don't know. I've got a bunch of stuff recorded that I need to edit. I got some other stuff I want to work on. I've just been working on other stuff, so I might put out some videos, but they're really just don't bother.
All right, well,
If they were good, but they're not good.
yeah, I can tell you from experience, the man is selling himself short. So
Maybe
absolutely
one
go
day
check
they
out
won't
Squib's
be all
channels.
about
Squibload.
Yeah.
If you search Squibload, I've been told that you have to go to about the third page of Squibload channels to find the right one. But catch the guy with the Colt Walkers.
Yep. Thanks.
Absolutely. All right, Mr. Gizzard Gary, my neighbor to the south. Are you still with? There you go.
I am here. Yep. I don't have a whole lot to plug or anything like that. GizzardGary.com if you want to check out my website. I appreciate any and all subscribers that's out there. Thanks to everybody who's already one. And definitely subscribe to Sandhills Shooter. He's definitely got some good stuff out there. And thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining. All right. And my neighbor to the south and east, just a little ways, a couple states between me and him, the ghost with the most, Ghost Tactical.
Thanks for having me tonight. Yeah, I just want to get the message out there to try to get to the range and be as proficient as you can with your firearms. And if you can take someone with you that's either new or undecided about firearms and show them the safe, proper way and let them have a little fun, maybe we convert them. And while you're at it, turn the camera on a little bit and be part of the community. And if you really want to get dumb a little bit, go check out my website. It's probably the easiest way to find all my links. I'm on all the platforms, www.ghosttacticalproductions.com. And I invite everyone to go check out the new podcast. It's called the Armed Citizen Podcast. This last episode was with Julie Golub, and it's a really good episode. So go check that out as well. And thanks for having me, buddy.
You bet. You bet. I've been catching those podcasts. They're really, really good. I've liked all of those that you've done so far.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. All right. And then people have kind of come and gone. So the last one on my left, Mr. David Bowling.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. Always a good conversation. And looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, you got any new videos coming out? I saw you put that 700 video out.
Yeah, I'll probably get, one or two videos out with it, but, say maybe Sunday or something like that.
Cool. All right. And David is one of the people who has been with me the longest, back when I just would, on a whim, turn on the camera going down the road and just do a live chat about nothing whatsoever. You've always been right there with me almost from the beginning. So thanks for always supporting me. Speaking of support, AA has kicked in a $2 super chat. Because I can, bro. That is so cool. Thank you very much for the support. Speaking of support, you can support this show and others like it on, this other videos, I should say, on my channel. If you want to support us, you need to go to patreon.com and become a patron of Sandhills Shooter. And everybody who becomes at least a $1 a month patron, we call it a Sandhiller, you're going to get the Sandhills Shooter sticker along with a thank you card personally autographed by myself. If you want to become an outlaw or a vigilante, there's some more stuff that comes along with that. So go to Patreon, check that out, and we'll sure appreciate all the support that we can get. Hopefully the quality of the videos keeps getting better and better as time goes by. If we can improve some of the equipment in here. Right now, the next expense is saving up for a better computer, because the old laptop is getting getting kind of slow and obsolete. So that's what we're working on next. Thanks everybody for joining. Who did I see that came in here? Mel the Nut. I hadn't said hi to you yet, so thanks for stopping by, Mel, and everybody else that was here. Thank you very much for coming by and joining us. And hope to see you next week, Tuesday night, 9 o'clock Central Time, the only time zone that matters. Thanks everybody for joining us, and God bless.